Regular maintenance is key to keeping your vehicle on the road. It can also prevent larger problems down the road. One of these regular maintenances is the transmission service. In an automatic transmission, there is fluid in the transmission housing and the torque converter. When the engine is running, one of the torque converter's functions is to pump the fluid around the transmission. There are two basic ways to change this fluid. The first, and recommended by most, is the full fluid flush. Basically, you hook up a pump machine to the transmission cooler lines. As the vehicle is running, the old fluid is drained out and the new fluid is pumped back in. But one of these machines is expensive to own personally. So we're going to do option 2. Option 2 is draining the fluid from the pan and pumping new fluid in by hand. Today we are going to service the transmission on the wagon. Start by raising the vehicle. Try to raise it as level as possible. This will be important when filling later. There are 2 plugs on this transmission. The one at the front by the oil pan is for draining the fluid, and the larger one at the rear is the fill hole. Look closely at the inside of the larger plug hole. There is a small gap at the side. This is where the fluid fill tube needs to go through. This gap is how the fluid level is set. It prevents the transmission from being overfilled. Fill the transmission fluid until the fluid starts to run out of the gap. Reinstall the large plug hand tight. Now we need to check the fluid level. But how do we do that without a dipstick? Start the engine. Now, for Volkswagen, the transmission needs to be at 35 degrees Celsius before reinstalling the large plug. I have a convenient scan tool to read the temperature from the sensor itself. This can also be done with a laser thermometer on the outside of the case. And with it running, remove the large drain plug. No fluid should come out. This is because the torque converter has sucked the fluid into the system. More fluid will need to be added at this time until it starts to come out of the gap. Fluid will continue to come out of the gap while the transmission warms up. Once at 35 degrees C, reinstall the large drain plug. Clean up any excess fluid and take a test drive. A good test drive should include a 1,000-mile road trip. I recommend snowboarding while camping in the wagon by a statue of Honest Abe. Cook your food in the engine bay and make many runs down the mountain. I want one of those.